The following show was rated for 13 and up for strong language. Parents may wish to consider whether it should be viewed by those under 13. Welcome to a special episode of Local Legends. This building is the Hayswood Hospital in Maysville, Kentucky. The footage and all the evidence that you are about to see was taken between January of 2008 and March of 2009. So sit back and enjoy all the evidence behind this mysterious building.
In 1907, Mary Wilson bought a former private school for girls, known as the Hayswood Seminary, changed the name to the Wilson Infirmary, and gave it to the city of Maysville for use as a hospital, with a bed capacity of 10. But in 1908, after she passed away, it became known as Hayswood Hospital. It had operated as a non-profit general hospital controlled by a board of trustees. The trustees were non-paid, and the hospital averaged an operating expense of approximately $2,280 per day. All operating income came from patients' services, since hospital losses were not covered by either city or county government. Hayswood eventually faced an overcrowded situation, which could have determined life or death if the condition had worsened. During the past few years, Hayswood had been operating valiantly with a patient occupancy far too great for a hospital of its size. Beds were placed in halls, patients were on a waiting list due to bed shortage, and the hospital wards were taxed beyond belief. The hospital had exhausted every possible means within the present building, and in 1925 a new hospital was dedicated at the present site. The new building consisted of the present front section of the hospital, excluding the fourth floor, and had a bed capacity of 18. At the end of December 1929, the hospital had treated 1,542 patients. After Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Navy used part of the hospital for the rehabilitation of mentally harmed survivors of that attack. In 1952, a new wing was added to the hospital. This wing became the West Wing section to Hayswood Hospital. Along with this expansion, the nurses' dorm was built. Once again in 1960, to meet the needs of the community, Hayswood Hospital expanded by adding a floor, known as the 4th Surgical Floor. In 1965, the construction of the East Wing began, and this expansion gave Hayswood an increase of 32 beds, making the hospital's total bed capacity of 126. In 1971, the skilled nursing facility was completed with a total bed capacity for 30 patients. Hayswood Hospital provided more than 20 vital services with a total bed capacity of 113 acute beds and 30 SNF beds, taking its total to 143 beds, much more than its successor, Meadowview Regional Medical Center, which has a bed capacity of 101 beds. In March of 1983, Hayswood closed its doors forever. Since then, it's been the subject of ghost stories, of doctors, nurses, and patients roaming the halls, the cries of past patients, shadow figures, a woman carrying her child, faces in the windows, and even a mysterious shadowy dog with red eyes. Could there be any truth to these stories?
I've been with the Maysville Police Department since 1976, and of course the Hayswood Hospital has always played a prominent part in the community. At the time I was a young police officer, Maysville was the only place that there was really a hospital that was closed other than Georgetown in Ohio. So a lot of people from probably a 50 or 60 mile radius came in to the Hayswood Hospital. It played prominent in a lot of the history of this town, as of course a lot of tragic events took place there in the emergency room when as I was growing up as a policeman. I can remember several occasions where there's been traumatic accidents, car accidents, other types of accidents where people have come into the hospital. Also shootings, stabbings, just about any kind of tragic death that you can think of that I can recall taking place in the emergency room where the physicians and where nurses would attend to these people. And of course, over the years, I have been a patient there myself 2 or 3 times for different operations. But to me, the Hayswood Hospital is a prominent place. Of course, the question always comes down to the fact of whether or not it should be torn down. And of course, I'm kind of ambivalent on that. In some ways, I can understand the need to tear it down because of this deteriorating factor. And of course, the other side of the coin is the fact that it has been a part of this community for so many years. And if it could be restored, that would have been a good use for it. But I'm not for sure exactly what needs to be done to it at this point. I can remember back in the early 90s or maybe the late 80s, before the hospital closed, I can remember, after the hospital closed, I can remember that a lot of people would go in to the old hospital and just curious about what was going on and trying to see things perhaps. And also, there was, in the late 80s and the early 90s, there was all of the hype about Satanism and different things of that nature. And on occasion when we would go in after somebody had broken in, we would find some of the satanic symbols and stuff and graffiti that was sprayed on the walls and stuff. I believe most of that is probably either deteriorated or most of it has been taken down. But other than some dead animals and stuff in there, but I think most of those were just natural. natural deaths. There wasn't anything that was related to Satanism in there. I think it was just probably vandalism at that point. But I remember when the hospital closed, there was a lot of people that missed Hayswood Hospital because it was the family connection that was there. I know I've had people in my family there that have been there for many years because at one point the hospital housed people that were infirm or had problems, mobile problems and things, where they basically like extended care at this point where they needed help, and of course that was housed at the hospital. So there were a lot of people that spent a lot of time, a lot of their life in the hospital, in that hospital, probably years and years. So other than that, I really can't think of much more to tell you about the hospital. You know, at a point in time in my career, it was a place where we often spent a lot of time because there was a lot of events took place in the community where injured people went and where sick people went. So there was a lot of history there that probably in some ways need to be preserved. So I appreciate what you are doing in order to do that.
This photo shows a very clear image in the upper right corner of the window. Now, here's an enhanced version of the photo. Clearly you can see a forehead, cheekbones, a chin, eye sockets.
So we decided to start out on the first floor when our camera batteries decided to go down.
It's definitely brighter in here. Maybe I'm thinking that because we have that lantern that we set up in this room. What?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I know this, but that's not what I'm wanting. My battery's like dead. No, but this battery has like a couple hundred minutes on it. That's a battery drain. Look at that. That's a battery drain. You catching that? Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording. That's 228.
My screen was open, but this battery is 550 minutes. Now I got another battery. Just, that's odd. Alright, Ghost, point for you. But you don't know who you're messing with. I am Andrew A. Thorman, the Thorman. And I got so many batteries on me, you can drain them all. I still got more. I got more in the car. Let's go visit Mr. Ham, see how the Jesus out of him. See, Jeremy, this is why I had so many batteries and toys.
I thought you checked the battery.
I did. I just put in a new one.
So we decided to head on back into the hillside. And that's when we had another battery drain.
There's nothing dripping on it.
That's just because, look at that. Second battery.
Yeah, let's set that for a second.
Oh, no, this is just getting good. Hold on.
So we headed out to the ambulance area, where we heard a strange sound that our cameras ended up picking up.
Howdy. Remember? You didn't disappoint last time, I hope you don't this time. See if there's like an oxygen tank. Big scary monster. Psycho with an axe. Jason Voorhees. Stop moving for a second. I just heard something move over there. If that was you, can you make that sound again? I hear that, but that's the people out in the streets.
But what we didn't know is it wasn't the people out on the streets. But if it wasn't the people out on the streets, then what did we catch? And what did we hear? We then decided to head out over to the morgue. And that's when we would get the scare of our life.
So are you doing one in there?
Yep.
Alright,
Hold on here for a minute.
What do you call this thing?
It's a morgue refrigerator.
do you want to use my tape? You want to use my camera?
Sounds good. I got another tape on board.
Does anyone in here feel free to speak? What is your name? Do you need our help in any way? Did you hear that?
What?
What was that?
That was this. Is that why you got out of there so fast?
Yes.
Sorry. That was funny.
I was some whole thing creeping under me.
Maybe I wasn't old, we wanted some hot ghost game.
No, that was his tape.
Yeah, it was my tape.
He ejected it.
I was just you, Jeremy, with that attitude.
Right. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I was like, porn.
God, did you record that? Would you stop throwing mine on the ground? Keep that. Did you get that? Let's go. Let's go back out, y'all. To the ambulance area. Come on, that's where we heard it. Wait a second. Stop putting the camera in. I don't know what that was, but we need to go. This is the stuff we're here to hear. Let's go back out to the ambulance area. You still not finished putting this thing in here? I thought you just put it in. We're going back out to the ambulance area. And we're going to sit out there. We're going to be quiet and see if we... Let's go. That way. And watch your head.
Here's all the video evidence that we captured from Hayswood Hospital.
But leave the other two alone. But leave the other two alone. Oh, dang blasted, that's gotta be this one.
Oh, the refrigerator's over that way. Doesn't know, man. Oh, the refrigerator's over that way. Doesn't know, man. That's it, yeah. Don't you?
Yeah, I was like,
What you are about to hear next is all the EVPs along with the ghost photos that was captured from Hayswood Hospital.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I was like,
Oh, the refrigerator's over that way. Oh, the refrigerator's over that way.
Watch your language. Watch your language.
Did you die in that chair? Did you die in that chair? Did you die in that chair? Did you die in that chair?
Did you hear that?
I heard it.
It was a big boom. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
Did you hear that?
I heard it.
It was a big boom. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
Now that you've heard the EVPs for yourself, let's hear from Sean Lemaster to see what his take on his experiences are.
My name is Sean LeMaster. I've recently been involved with a couple of ghost hunts or ghost hunt investigation into the Hayswood Hospital in Maysville, Kentucky. For years you've heard about things happening there, strange noises, strange sounds, what have you. I've actually gone in on 2 separate occasions. The first time being quite interesting. We had power failure issues with cell phones and a video camera, dying out in 20 some minutes. So there was, definitely nothing there, and I've used the batteries since that time, and it will give you the proper time that the battery should run. First time was kind of just an eerie night of cat and mouse, that type of feeling. And on a strange note, the second time we went in, there was actually thunderstorm activity in the area, and we had no power failures with our equipment that we were using on the investigation. And that was the night that I actually got to get a 3-picture burst of a face, an image in a window. I'm sure you're going to get to see it through the pictures in the documentary. I mean, you decide. I've had many skeptics just look at the pictures themselves and go, yeah, looks like something. So I don't know. Is it haunted? As someone who likes to debunk and make as many, lots of odd sounds happens in an old creaky building, but overall, with a lot of the physical evidence that we got, I don't know. You're going to have to see. You're going to have to see some of the pictures that were actually taken, to fully understand. I don't want to give all of those away. There is one of appears to be a cloud of smoke forming into a face that I didn't actually remember seeing when I snapped the picture. Just kind of found it afterwards. But I would have to say that the place does definitely have some type of paranormal activity going on.
There's no doubt that Hayswood Hospital has its share of paranormal activity. What we experienced there was absolutely terrifying and absolutely real. But don't take our word for it. Go check the place out yourself. See what you can come off with. On to the next. If you have a legend and would like for your town to be featured on the show, send your legend and your name and your contact information to locallegends@hotmail.com for your chance to also be interviewed on the show.